the revolution and the University Square. Um, as mentioned, we started off in the Roman Square. In fact, this is where we spent most of our time, together with a few other 200 people. I don't know. Fewer than in university. The majority went to the Piazza Universitate. That's why people recall that. That's why over there you find a shrine, a little monument, and they used to gather there for uh, anniversaries. And plus, it's true, University Piazza Universitate, University Square became a symbol of freedom. Then there would be demonstrations against the neo-communist regime, the new power led by Iliescu, who used to be a communist leader. And indeed, he would be a Gorbachev type of termina of a head of government, but we didn't need something like that. Gorbachev was passé. He would have been good, perhaps, for the last 10 years of communism, when instead of Ceausescu, who destroyed so much in economy, spirit, culture, tortured people. A leader like the Hungarians had, or the Czechs had, who was more moderate and not a radical like Ceausescu, that would have been better. But after the end of communism, you can do nothing with a communist reform, or in any form, any other form. So that's anticipating, but in University Square we were concerned with the downfall of Ceausescu and communism. Jos comunism, jos Ceausescu, that's what you heard most. Death to the dictator, moarte dictatorului, potolește-te. That's something I remember. Otherwise, as I said, I was like a ghost, like my body was there, present, but then my spirit was hanging over, or was being put on ice, or made to sleep, sent into a coma, or something. I have only glimpses, snapshots from that. Like, for instance, I remember at one point I was near the subway station at the Universitate, and then I was also near the statues at the University Square. Termina. While at the other end there were the barricades, there were the policemen and the barricades in the Intercontinental Hotel area. And I was thinking to myself, it's late, it was late, as mentioned. When we left Roman Square, it was already dark, and we had been there for I don't know how many hours, maybe 4, 5. It was in a way a peak experience. Flow, being in the zone, as described by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who says that when you have periods of maximum intensity of engagement, you lose sense of time, and then time has other dimensions. A surgeon coming out from a difficult operation is hungry and wants to have lunch, but the others tell him it's already evening, it's dinner time. So he obviously has been operating for 10 or 12 hours, which she thinks have been 3 or 4. Same thing here. I don't know how time passed. It wasn't really like a happy experience as described in Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It was exhilarating and happy to the extent where it seemed something was going on. So so many people joined forces to try and overthrow communism, the dictator, and there was such a chance, which had not been there before. So in that sense, yes, there was hope. You could see the light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. Um, but otherwise, it was tense and it was very engaging and very. Time had a different dimension because it was very intense. Nothing like that, ever happened, had ever happened before, and would never happen again. There would be some demonstrations against Iliescu. There would be again a fight for freedom, if you will, but not not in the same way. Nevertheless, with all this engagement, we finish with a joke. The revolution turned out to be a rather strange event because the effects were not negligible. So much has changed. But then, in a sense, you changed one communist with another. So, hence the joke with which I will end this episode. Dialogue with a Latin American. I mentioned this joke, but it's, I think, again, perhaps needed here. What are you doing? I'm going to have my lunch, and after that, I'm going to have my siesta, and after that, I don't know, maybe a revolution. So, like in Latin America, in some decades ago, this joke was good for a Romanian one because it didn't seem to be such a serious thing, a real revolution, just an afternoon operation.